Alright, and bracket update there, because of course, unfortunately, we don't have conventional brackets for this, as it's a King of the Hill format for the Olimoleague monthly finals. Welcome on and welcome all to the first game in the series today. Now, unfortunately, we did have some no-shows, which is really disappointing, because we really want to see people like Balloon and Pet play, but Balloon more so than anyone else, because he was the only non-Zerg player, and even then, he may have had a 1 in 3 chances of being Zerg. But it is official from this point out. It's all ZvZ. It's all best of 5s. So, spawning on the bottom left side of Dusk Towers, we've got the orange Zerg player, Armani.
In the top right, as the red Zerg, he is DeParture.
And shout out to Rabathari for the 21-month resub. Also, again, apologies for the way stuff looks in the overlay, guys. I'm accidentally streaming at 1080p. So first off, I hope it's still 60 FPS. But also, and more importantly, I don't have scaling set up for this because we normally broadcast in 720 on account of my bandwidth limitations. For context, we'll say like if an average cast takes 4 hours, broadcasting at 1080p like almost doubles the amount of data I have to send. It's so stupid.
Oof. Harsh.
But anyways, before we got into this game, and because nobody's doing cheese, we were talking a little bit about the new maps to come. So you had some thoughts on that.
Yes. First, I want to note that DeParture is going for 3-hatch gas for a pool, so he's being a little greedy. Like, nah.
Very greedy. Like the most greed possible.
Yeah, it's pretty risky. But yeah, we were playing after we played Brood War, and after I stomp him. Let's put that on the record, okay? Because he's been like, oh, I beat Zombie Grip in Brood War, when it was actually a 2v1.
Zombie Grip, no one cares. You're basically...
No,
you're bragging about beating a child, is what you're doing right now. Like,
it had to be out there, okay?
That 10-year-old, I whooped his ass.
Okay, if this child was like, I beat like Zombie Grip in basketball, I would dunk in his face, and I'd just be like, suck it.
Wow. That's not even savage. That's just terrible.
I can't dunk. It's fine. I try.
You're a horrible human being.
Oh God, why are you wet, cat? What the? Okay, well that's gross. So, anywho, he's like, I actually want to play some StarCraft 2, and I was like, against me, and then he was like, yeah, why not? Like, you wouldn't like, beat me any worse than you are in Brood War. So we were playing, and we played on new maps, and we tried all of them after we found them finally, and the first 2 or 3, I forget, that we played, I was like, I don't really like the Sideways Arena one, or, the other one is kind of cool, I guess. But then we played in that fucking, like, base map.
Oh, the big core hall something, yeah.
Yes, core hall, which I realized on Twitter, like, oh my god, I've never liked any map that had core hall in it, so it was already set up not to be good. I played a ZVP versus Fear Dragon on that, and it was the stupidest thing. First of all, like, Fear Dragon was telling me, like, there's supposed to be, like, certain, maps, base locations that you have to get, so it's always cross position in like the quadrants, and it definitely wasn't. So either that was a mistake or he misunderstood. I don't know. I wasn't looking too much into the maps to know. But basically what happened was I was in the bottom and he was in like the right as opposed to like the top leftish kind of thing. So I expanded toward him first, which sucked. Had to break down rocks to get to my third that was behind my main. And then I figured out that you could just break the rocks behind his main and attack through that choke. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, I killed all of his forges and gateways because there's rocks going into your main base on that map. Ugh.
So guys, Zombie Grip's complaining, but I just want to point out she's a Masters League player in Fear Dragon's Platinum, so this is just like really unnecessarily mean on her part.
How am I complaining? I'm complaining about the dumbness of the map.
Not how it looks to me, man. Looks like you played it before Fear Dragon.
Yeah, okay. Like, that, seriously though, like, I hate, like, that map's gonna be so stupid.
Yeah, I think it was, I don't remember which, one of the pros said, you're never going to see that map unless it's game 7 in a best of 7 type thing, and I agree, like, you got to play one map, like, one game on it once in a blue moon. It's kind of like when players get stuck with detox in our tournaments currently, right? There's going to be the odd guy who really knows how to play that map well, and the majority who don't. It's going to be the Infernal Pools of the map pool, thinking on it.
Hey, Infernal Pool started to get played.
I really enjoyed Infernal Pools, but it was vetoed, like, for almost 100% of everything. Anyway, we find there's some action kicking off, but weirdly enough, this isn't even that dedicated. Armani's forced to make a lot of units right now in response, and those roaches are going to be fantastic. But DeParture, excuse me, I said isn't that dedicated, is actually going to stop droning, not go any higher, make 11 more roaches where this came from. So, looking to just clear out as much of the cannon fodder of his opponent right now. I don't think he's really intending to go for those mineral lines.
Yeah. Well, Armani is going to be able to see this with his Overlord on this of the map soon, but having the same response might be a little bit difficult, as he did, of course, commit to a lair and +1, which is not going to be helpful right now, and in fact is still droning too. Departure, having gone for the 304 pool, actually isn't that far down on drones, as he gets 3 more especially, but he will be significantly down on tech. He won't have +1, and he won't have roach speed if this all-in fails. But Armani's like, he's pretty well set up, you know, like better set up than we've seen others, of course, because a lot of times this will happen and the person won't have roaches just straight up, and that's how they'll lose. But Armani does. So Departure is going to have to really just try and use his numbers here to win, as opposed to any tech advantage.
Right, but this is a bit of a problem we've seen a couple of times, more so Blythe than others. Now, there's a lot of banlings coming in, and that's certainly scary, but the Ravagers don't need a speed upgrade. They can actually kite the roaches around relatively easily without the Corrosive Bile, like just with their auto attacks. Departure not playing too risky here, but he's got a good composition. Like, this really, with Defender's Advantage especially factored in, this should be a fairly easy hold.
I feel like we also didn't really talk about the players too much, but Departure basically gets to any Olimoleague finals or semifinals by all-inning, like whether it's ZvZ or ZVP. So this really should not have been unexpected from both us or Armani.
Actually, a little bit unexpected. The Banelings get some really good hits and take out most of the spine crawlers immediately, but even with those good connections,
Look at the
still
drones.
push back. The drones almost exit the Baneling, but they can fall back.
Exactly.
They're going to be perfectly fine. While this goes on, I mean, Armani's army supply is starting to really just snowball.
Yeah, I mean, with how he defended that, you know, like, he was so close to losing 10, 12 drones, and that would have really helped Departure bring back into this game. But without that, and even with that, Armani has significant tech advantage and should be able to win this game, basically. But we'll see if Departure can bring it back in the macro game, like maybe he has a couple of tricks or a couple of really nicely timed counterattacks. He does have that, like, you know, that high link count that can sometimes complicate things, but it's going to be hard, specifically on Dusk Towers, where it really is just this one ramp to the important bases.
This is kind of a cool response. This Departure, knowing that he's going to be a little bit behind because of what he did, decides to take that 4th and just contain. And that's not too bad of logic, but they're both going for Spire. And this is where I think Departure's 4th base is going to pay off really, really well if he can maintain that lead. Armani is, however, droning like a madman, and I think he's got intentions of taking a 4th at some point. But for the time being, Departure really does have control of the map. Armani, once he's got a few more roaches, might feel more comfortable pushing out, but it's not uncanny to see Mutalisks. It's uncanny to see both players go Mutalisk in this position, however. Especially with +2 being upgraded and dedicated to out of Armani.
Well, for Dusk Towers, it is very, very common for roaches to turn into mutids, so there's that. For Departure, who knows that he's behind because of this later tech, he might be thinking, okay, I'm not going to beat him in a numbers game because I'll have an upgrade advantage, so I'm going to try and change my tech up, which is certainly a lot of what ZvZ's, like, can happen in ZvZ's on any map, is you try and go for a Spire desperately. We do see that a lot. For Armani, this is either just has always been his plan, or he is preempting Departure's mutas, because honestly, at this point, the easiest way to deal with mutas is actually get your own mutas. Like, dealing it with, like, spore crawlers and hydras is actually really obnoxious. I'm not sure which one he's really going for, but he is going for a push. It's actually probably enough roaches for Departure. This isn't too scary.
By the way, thank you to Earthian1 and Reams, both for resubbing for many, many months. Both of you guys are awesome and much love. Mutalisks, though, coming out are going to be a little bit favoring Armani at first, but again, it's like, man, it's Defender's Advantage. There's not going to be that big of a deal right now. They will drive this Roach army back home, though, because even though you could try and play risky with it, it's the fact that Armani has so many roaches on the ground that he can't just walk past this. So as these two start countering, the muta count is going to be 12 to 13. Going to be a little bit awkward, going to be a little bit weird.
Well, what is also awkward is Armani still getting that +1. I think this might actually be his first notification of mutas, so maybe it wasn't so awkward, but now it is. You do want Carapace if you're going to be going into muta versus muta. But this game in general looks a little odd. I mean, they have such a high roach count. Armani has that +2. It looks like Departure canceled. I believe he was getting a +1 missile and canceled that. He's really going to go all into mutas.
Yeah, he was going for +1. It was actually almost done, too. I didn't even notice the cancel. I just assumed it had finished, but it's a good catch. The thing about mutas, though, that we've seen, and this is something I'd say is very common nowadays, is muta games also means pretty fucking passive games where you try and get that count up. So even though Armani's at a disadvantage, and you guys can't see me, I'm using air quotes here, He might actually have the time to just even up the upgrades, though, because 1-1, 2-0, like, there's a lot of ways mutas eventually kind of level each other out with upgrades. What I do really like, though, is this tunneling clause. However, this is a muta game, so there should be spore crawlers down. However, there's not. So this is like a weird situation where I think Burrowed Roach is going to work out where they normally shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes a good idea to put down spore crawlers, and then sometimes it's also like, if I have to put on spore crawlers and somehow I already messed up, like, you can see on the, I really like Armani's, like, frontal spore crawlers, which are going to help with a main engagement, but if the mutas are harassing him in the main and his mutas can't respond, then it's a problem.
I just realized the muta count, by the way, so who cares about upgrades when you're up, like, 11 mutas? Looks like Armani's actually transitioning out of this, and he wants to go towards, like, Hydralisk and such instead. Not a bad choice, but damn. Like, that muta count for his opponent. Like, if DeParture went for an attack right now, I think Spore Crawlers be damned, he'd win.
It is very dangerous to try and transfer out of mutas, even if it was a game where you're transferred into mutas in the first place. Like, it's not a very common game to see, but it still holds kind of the same ideas as muta versus muta, like just base muta versus muta. And the first one to tech out is usually the first one to die, as you catch them while they're still teching.
That first Ling run by bought a lot of time. These roaches will probably pull the army back again, if I had to imagine. I do want to give a shout out to DeParture that immediately replaces that queen. We're not going to see a little complacency here, and we're going to keep those injects going strong, but that mutant count looking wild, insane, and crazy. Hydras aren't quite out yet. They're almost here.
It is very dangerous for Armani still. He has this huge bank, and it's useful. In a last-ditch scenario, like, he could just send his entire ground army across and buy time to get another anti-muta flock. These roaches aren't really all that scary, but 3 roaches is pretty key. They are starting to rack up the kills. Just reinforcements could take care of this, but DeParture, he's not reinforcing with lings, he's just actually reinforcing with drones. There's a lot more mutas. Oh god, there we go.
This is where his Hydra Den is, though. If he loses that, he's going to lose anti-air capabilities. But
yeah, there's that last-ditch effort.
Yeah, he didn't realize it, I guess. Spore Crawlers here are going to be fantastic, and actually, one of the rare times Spore Crawlers are good.
They don't come to the hatchery anymore.
Yeah, but he's playing so silly with these mutas. I don't know, man.
And he could definitely take on the army back at home.
Yeah, this is actually the... this is so much better for Armani in this position, despite these snipes, because look at all these other spore crawls. Look at the...
Yeah.
Like, he knows that mutas are the only chance he'd lose this game, and he's good to go. He took care of the ground army.
Like, I really don't know, though. Armani, let's count. Like, Armani has... Okay, now he has 16 Hydras, but some of those are back at home. Against 46 mutas, which will have 1-1? No, okay, 1.
But the difference is one of these players can play and the other can't. And you know what I mean? Like, there's still... Like, he's going to continue expanding. He's got so many spore crawlers down. Hydras... The den wasn't sniped. He built another one to be safe? No, excuse me. I was looking elsewhere.
It wasn't sniped. That's pretty big. Because Armani did have a huge bank, like he wasn't going to be able to replenish, and if he was only replenishing with roaches, then this game would go on for a long time. This game could still go on for a while longer because it's like we saw, who was it who ended up having like an 80 drone kill count because he didn't want to give up because he had mutas. He just kept on like bleeding drones over and over again. It was like Penguin, I think, maybe.
Like 90% of the circuit we cast. Like.
Well, okay, yeah, but the point is like. Mutas have a very big potential of comeback, so even if you're down to 1 base or hell even 0 bases, the muta player will always try.
I actually don't think the muta count's big enough to take on spore crawlers and hydras. As long as they're in the spore crawlers, I think the hydras win every single time. Roaches, on the other hand, are absolutely slaughtering the other side of the map. There's long distance mining going on, but the layer's going to die. A few roaches pop out, but they're going to go down. 11 more hydras coming out. Muta's going to fly right into him, though. GG.
Like, that wasn't going to go well. GG.
Rest in pepperonis. By the way, Shanda, thank you for resubbing as well. Sorry, guys, with the stupid 1080p resolution, I can't see. It's like, what are these resubs for ants? Like, it's so fucking tiny.
Yes.
I'll try to keep a better eye on it. But if I do miss anybody today, please know that I love you and I'm so sorry. But we're gonna hit up small commercials, guys. Nothing too big while we get into this next game. Do stick around. See you in a minute for more of the Olimoleague. All right, folks, welcome back. Just in time to catch this very early gas coming out of this guy. Spawning in the bottom right corner of the map. He's up 1-0. Going for that early as hell pool. Paired up with that early as hell gas. It is Samsung Galaxy's Armani.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it is DeParture. I would have thought he was going to be the one to go for an early pool, to be honest.
Right? I mean, he's still going to do a combination and a variation. Not going to hatch first, but I don't know, for Armani to do this, it's not just odd, it's just everyone seems to like gambling on Leerlat crests. It's like just small enough to make it worthwhile. You'll see less versions of this on, say, Ruins because it's a much larger map, but I'm just not a fan of the gamble aspect, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess right now in ZvZ you got to be a gambler and try and make it work, but we'll see. Armani, it's a lot about just dedication. It looks like he's going to be going for the full all-in version too, so not cutting, no gas, which sometimes happens. Still on gas, he's going to go for a Baling Nest as well. So DeParture, even though it went for like an early pool on gas, and this is probably the best setup you can be against it, it's still like, they can still make it work, basically. A little unfortunate that Armani did not get a good scout, though, so this looks really awkward, seeing his links in the middle of the map.
Yeah, but he'll be able to 50-50 there and see which way it goes.
I mean, it was really odd, actually, of DeParture. For whatever reason, maybe he's planning this in case Armani early pulled. His second Overlord did not go to meet Armani's, because right now, Armani would know where he would be. Like, their second Overlords would have met each other. But his second Overlord actually went to the north, kind of, like in an angle. So Armani's missing that and is really confused right now, probably because he didn't see that Overlord. Now I think he knows where it is. He checked the top left and is just waiting maybe for speed because he figures he has a secret on his side as well. His opponent didn't know where he was either. Now the Overlord's going to see these lings just before speed pops. Just before.
Well, he did manage to squeeze in some Bailings, so he's already kind of set to go. Meanwhile, back at home, DeParture does put a spine in his main. This is a much better choice than trying to put in the natural, because the natural is probably just going to be forfeit. There's some Bailings trying to morph in here on the ramp, but if these Lings want to focus fight, they can take him down pretty quick. He's playing risky because he doesn't know when they were made, so just goes for the explosions, takes them out immediately. Very little resistance beyond this. Going to morph in a couple more Bailings. That's a Queen, that's a Spine Crawler, but unfortunately that's... Despite how good the surface area is, and despite how good the SimCity is, this is still going to be a very difficult hold. But Armani, this is all in for him. Like, he has to win with this.
Yeah. DeParture already having Bailings is pretty damn huge. Usually you see them being like, oh my god, it knows, six one's killed. I didn't realize you're going for an early pool, and they are getting their Baling Nest as the attack happens. But the fact that DeParture already has one means Armani is like, yeah, he actually might not do a lot of damage with it. Getting those 6 drones might be the only thing he's going to get, which is not enough. Make up for this all in.
Right, because he's down a hatchery in this situation, but he's going to back away, which I think is a little bit smarter. Both players on equal drone count means equal economy with how low it is. There's no benefit from saturating another base. However, there's like the Spine Crawler being advanced to the front lines. There's more Banelings coming in, and Armani just doesn't have any juice left in him. He's still going to continue with the all-in. He has to, but I don't know if he can actually overtake his opponent, because if for no other reason, he just doesn't have the gas to make very many Banelings. He's making 4, and that's about it. DeParture should be able to match this. In fact, he's going to take a huge Baling lead.
This is going to be so difficult. I don't know why Armani was trying to almost hide his lane count. DeParture has an Overlord right over that hatchery and knows he's not going to try and take a hatchery. So this really was obvious to DeParture. Keep making Banelings and you're going to be good to go. Unless he clumped his own against Armani's, there's really no chance here. And,
no, that's it. Right there on the ramp. GG. Ties it up, though, 1-1. Now we're going to skip ads for this one, guys, but DTT StarCraft in chat asking, BaseTradeTV, since when do you stream in 1080p? So here's the thing, guys. I've got this lovely computer. I spent so much money on this bad boy. Hang on. Okay? This computer's amazing, but the problem is I don't have the internet to support constantly streaming 1080p. If we were only streaming like one thing a week, I could easily and happily stream in 1080p. But because of how much content we constantly stream and the fact that Canada is still in the fucking Stone Ages and I have a data cap, I cannot afford to broadcast in 1080p all the time. So it's something I wish I could do more of. Today we're only doing it because it's an accident. I was local recording some stuff. Like, local recording is not a problem in 1080 for Overwatch, but I guess I just forgot to set it back afterwards. Awkward.
A little bit.
But again, now that we got some more people on stream, I just want to kind of throw that out there. We've got preparations pretty much all set and good to go for our first Overwatch tournament. I'm really excited for it. I don't expect the greatest numbers, and we're not doing this to try and get like the popularity of Overwatch, guys. Like, I really want to stress, me and Zymer just really fucking love Overwatch. It's such a beautiful goddamn game, and it's quite fun. And that's not to rub in the face of people who don't have a key, and we're not trying to do anything like that. But we want to be able to do a tournament with it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So we put a lot of effort into it. We've got some plans together, and April 7th, mark it down. April 7th is going to be our first tournament date. We'll hopefully have information posted soon, however. But Runes of Ceres, we'll see you guys in a sec. Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue on with the Olimoleague King of the Hill monthly finals. Now, unfortunately, with so many, like, almost half the players for this not showing up, means that we're not going to get the best display of, like, the cool factor that a King of the Hill has to bring. But it's worth noting that either of these two players we're currently casting could go all the way and win all $900 today. Or maybe they'll lose out after their second series and only get away with a small handful of cash. But I really wanted... I'm the one... I'm going to throw it out there, guys. I'm the one who shot out the idea of trying to do a King of the Hill monthly finals because we had less weeklies this month. And I was really hoping this would be something cool that we could test and say, like, yeah, this format's amazing. Let's keep using it in the future. But it kind of sucks that it fell flat on this first try. And I hope I'll be able to convince Olimoleague to try it again in the future because I think it's a really cool format. I like King of the Hills quite a bit. But you'll see more of the aspect of this King of the Hill after we see one of these two players win the series. But it's best of fives all day. And spawning in the bottom right side of the map, it's going to be the orange Zerg player, Armani.
In the top left, as the red Zerg, it is DeParture.
Damn, DeParture, you crazy.
Yeah. DeParture being kind of like, well, yeah, crazy. Going for 3 hatch for a pool on Dusk Towers, okay, it makes sense. Going again after an early pool on a big map, yeah, it makes sense, but there's always this risk involved in ZvZ. And, well, for me too, I think DeParture, anytime I think DeParture is going to be that mid-game all-in, so this is almost just for me a bouncing, like, a jumping off point for DeParture to get that good macro and then the good all-in.
For me, I'm just like, okay, we talked about Runes of Ceres perhaps being a map that you can take a risk on. Sure. Lurelacrest, same aspect. But it's the fact that he just gambled on. To do this again is really just calling Armani's bluff in a small sense.
I mean, the chances of them doing it again, and especially on a bigger map, like maybe if this was all Arena, they'd do it again, and maybe it might be more, less risky. But it is a big map, and luckily for him, it also would have been cross-spawn. So if it would have been an early pool, it would have had a lot of trouble. Now, DeParture still isn't out of the woodworks yet, and Armani with going with this Baneling nest could try and use that. He also has a significant speed lead, having gone for the 1 base opener as opposed to DeParture's 3 base, even though he did get gas at a reasonable time, and is still playing pretty safe, going for his own Baneling nest immediately. But it still could be a lot of lings, and actually we have Armani making 14, probably more after that too, and he's going to try and bust DeParture's 3rd.
I was going to say, he starts droning. I guess he's not super committing to this, wants to really catch up and just squeeze in a couple workers here and there. We've talked about this a lot, right? Like, it's the best players in StarCraft 2 for ZvZ that know when they can squeeze in drones. It's weird to see this aggressive of a move into droning, though. Like this isn't 1 or 2 drones just squeezing out on the side. Armani's droning pretty hard with this.
Yeah. Well, I guess there were 2 choices: continue to commit to this or try and drone out of it. But the larva that just popped obviously went in the drones, so if it did go very well, and so far it's going pretty well, right, there's no follow-up, so it's going to be a follow-up of tech as opposed to more lings. Now, he just forced DeParture to make a lot of lings that are going to come out of, no matter what happens with these lings of Armani. So Armani's going to get defensive Banelings for sure, but he did a pretty okay job beating those queens, maybe getting a couple of Baneling or drones. Yeah, 4.
I guess 4. I mean, this this is an attack that I really expected to ramp up and do a lot more, and I think DeParture was too, because he reacts to this pretty harshly. And maybe that was Armani's plan. Like, he really wanted his opponent to overreact to him. But here's the problem. When you overreact, you actually have an army to fight with, and he's going to send that counterattack out. Right. And Armani really not ready for this just yet at home.
Yeah, that is the problem, but that's where the defensive Banelings are going to come in. You hopefully don't need too many lings, and hopefully you just have the perfect amount to defend against it. But DeParture, seeing the lack of a 3rd base of the Overlord first, maybe getting a scout on the fast layer, or at very least reading into it because of that late 3rd, he might commit to an attack, like more than he was planning to with the excess lings he had, because, well, if Armani is at the very least making Banelings, he's not going to be making a Spire, which is, I think, what he was trying to go for. Banelings everywhere.
That was actually handled really well on both sides with the way they had split like that. Normally you see people get complacent and club up their Banelings, but without Banelings to clear out the legs, that's the biggest problem here. That Spine Crawler goes down pretty quick. 2 Banelings head to that mineral line. He does pull the drones. It doesn't lose any to the initial hit. Impressive. But it's still a lot of lings behind this. In fact, the queens are in danger going down. There's not quite a transfuse, like 3 energy off. Unfortunately, watches her sister die. Drone's contemplated to be pulled, but the queen's going to go down. One last inject. And DeParture, I mean, he might not have won the game right here, but this definitely did a lot more damage than I think Armani expected him to.
Yeah.
Oh, well, take that back. 13 drones go down in the last.
Damn.
Wow, quick moments.
That was pretty good. DeParture is still committing to lings. At this point, he is pretty all in himself, but Armani is really throwing a Hail Mary here to get that Spire.
Let's not forget, he's up a hatchery, too, so there's a lot of ways that this, this still works out for him, no matter how this plays out. But the lings clean up the last few drones. A couple banelings get made. One gets wasted.
He's one. Like, Armani's going to try and get Mutas out, but he's only going to get 2. He's had to build a lot of lings, a lot of banelings, use up all of his bank that he would have had, and he's lost drones, so of course he didn't have that much of a bank to begin with. This is just, it's not going to be enough. Like, DeParture's going to take a long time to get to decent anti-air, like something that can actually move around the map, because he's not on a lair. But it's not going to be that many Mutas. Like,
no,
and at worst, like, he's going to just flood lings, so the Mutas can never go on the other side of the map.
Yeah, this is still like, well, you brought up before, like Armani has to keep spending gas on banelings. He can only build the 2 mutas, that's it. And while 2 mutas can't be shot necessarily, that's fine. They also aren't going to kill anything too quickly either. Maybe snipe the odd baneling here and there, but DeParture kind of saying, I've had enough of this in the natural. There's nothing left for me to kill. Darts towards the main. A couple more kills going to go down up here. Drones getting pulled once again means no mining, something Armani needs to continue producing those mutas.
Mm-hmm. I think he knows it's the last baneling.
Oh my god, the cocoon with 1 health, by the way. How scummy is that?
2 mutas, we've got to clean out not just banelings, but a lot of lings flooding into. It's pretty game, though. It's pretty game.
StarCraft 2 is a pretty game. I'm glad you bring that up. In fact, it's one of the most beautiful games. Haven't you seen that video Winter StarCraft made? He's playing the piano and StarCraft at the same time.
Oh, Jesus. You gotta bring that up.
GG. All right, so DeParture will take game number 2, giving him a nice 2-1 lead now in the series. It's going to be Armani's map pick for the next one, but we're going to squeeze in some small commercials. Again, we got less games available today, guys, so we do kind of have to run a couple more ads. Do love you guys for watching, then we'll see you in 2 minutes. All right, folks, welcome back. Game number 4 currently underway. This could be a deciding match. Spawning in the top left side of Preon Terraces. He's just got to lock down one more game, and he's good to go. It's going to be the Red Zerg player, DeParture.
In the bottom right, as the orange Zerg player, it is Armani.
So do we know the fully updated values of prize money and pricing?
No.
Okay, you should poke Olivia and ask, because what I wanted to explain, as this does come close to the end of the series, is that this match, the loser will get $0 and walk away with nothing for losing. And that really is unfortunate because they're the bottom of the hill. However, the winner of this will claim a certain amount of money that they cannot walk away with less than. So, for example, hypothetical, this match is worth, say, $200. DeParture will win $200 no matter what if he wins the series. Then let's say it takes it one step further and he actually beats Sleep or whoever's up next. Then he'll win $400 and walk away with $400 even if he loses. That sort of idea. It's kind of cool and it's kind of awesome. And that's how King of the Hill works, and that's where I think a lot of what I wanted to see out of the finals was going to be. But again, plans get kind of thwarted by no-shows today.
All right, this what we figure is going to happen. So 100 was added on to each of the not finals matches, let's say.
Okay.
So it's 100 plus to this one, 100 plus to the next one. So it's 250, 250, 400.
Cool. So yeah, the winner of this will walk away with $250 today, no matter what. That's the bare minimum that they can walk away from. Unfortunately, the loser will just straight up walk away, and thanks for showing up. But next up will be versus Sleep, and then the finals will be versus Soul Key. So let's say again, I want to really explain this for people who don't know King of the Hill format. If DeParture wins $250 here, but then loses to Sleep, he walks away with $250, and Sleep will then go to the finals with $250 in his pocket and have the potential to get $400 more. It's kind of savage for those who lose, but very lucrative for those who can win.
Yeah. So in this game, made something interesting. Armani actually just went for straight up like one base and held off on his hatchery. DeParture went for an early hatchery, which sounds kind of odd, but is what people are mostly doing on this map because the gold is so enticing. And then, of course, as you can see, went for that quick third too, which is something that Armani doesn't really want him to be allowed to get away with. And Armani is making a handful of lings to at least try and get some pressure going here. I don't know if he's actually going to be able to kill the third or get into the main. DeParture's already prepping for that possibility, but he kind of has to. He has to do something to get him either a tech lead or,
Yeah, I don't
drone
know.
lead.
I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, like, you're kind of almost saying, all right, my third's dead. Like, you can put one spine there. That's not that much of a dedication. If you put 2 Evo chambers to the left and to the right of it, that'd be really cool because then you wall it off. But this is probably just better off being canceled because this base is going to go down.
Looks like it. I mean, DeParture, he has Banelings on the way and he has speed on the way. The spine crawler kind of helping here, but Armani could just click on the hatchery and win at this point, or kill it at this point, which is exactly what DeParture did not want. He wanted Banelings available to stop them from doing that.
Okay, well, it's still going to get the hatchery, but took out that Baneling, so he at least had the capability to fight. Just a bit sad that it's so late. Now, the problem is, losing the hatchery already is kind of expensive. Losing the hatchery is already kind of expensive, but losing the hatchery and then building spines to boot, like, that's almost like a double loss there for poor DeParture. But not exactly too worse for wear for it. Again, he was not doing too bad on the drones leading into it.
Yeah, but this scout getting into the main base really sucks.
Seeing the layer timing, yeah.
Yeah, DeParture could have just slapped down another third, and Armani would not have known, by the way. He doesn't have an overload over there. And it might have been what he was expecting, actually. So to scout the lair is pretty darn big, and that is DeParture's plan gone a little awry. I mean, he can still use it, obviously.
Well,
Armani's just not getting a Roach War, and I guess he could try and all-in if he's anticipating the mutas.
Well, I think it's going to require dedication of roaches one way or the other, because even if it's not mutas, you go for a layer this quick and you're going for your own roaches, something that Armani is going to need to contest, and I don't know, that Roach Warren is going to serve him quite well. It really does question, though, how much does he dedicate to it. The nice thing is, we've talked about this with gold bases, it's not that you've got crazy extra income because of the gold base, but you need far less workers to get it saturated to a point where you're happy with it. So you can use that extra time, like time more so than supply, but the time and supply to get more army units out sooner, faster, better.
There's that Spire, but there's Armani's big all-in prepping to deal with said Spire by just, well, never really having to deal with it. Tearing his opponent down before they can get to mutas. Now, DeParture should have an idea this could come, especially since he was scouted, which was the #1 problem. And his Overlord did see the roaches on the way. But unfortunately, he only has Lings and Banelings. There aren't any Spine Crawlers. They're way too late. The first one that he built a long time ago tries to back up. Like, this is not going to work. Armani should be tying up this series.
I mean, this attack looks so. It's 50 supply to 14. I mean, if this doesn't end up being an ace match, I don't know what does. The worst part is these spines are coming so close to one another. The Banelings from Armani are just gonna crash right through. Now, had DeParture actually finished his Banelings, maybe he holds because he can use them against the roaches. But then there's the surprise Baneling factor. Now he's got to split because 2 Banelings can take out all of those Banelings. There we go. That's the game. That's the roaches. The Spires are desperate. Please gonna get like maybe 5 out of best, but GG gets called. All right, that's gonna tie up the series 2-2, and we are gonna go to our ace match. Which also means if you guys are subbed to the channel, make sure to spam ace match in chat. It makes me feel really giddy when I see that emote spam come down.
I believe Reno will be the last map.
Cool.
Only 5 maps in the Olimoleague. Totes. Man, it's hot. I mean, I like it, but then like my cat got on my lap, and he's actually really warm too. So it's too much warm.
Okay. The cat voice comes out.
It's just so cute.
All right, so again, reminding everybody that as much as you may love StarCraft, there's no deception here. I'm sure everyone's fully aware. It is all ZvZs today, unfortunately, but I don't know. As you can see, for these first 4 games, like ZvZ can still be fairly fun. It's a lot better than it was in HOTS. God knows HOTS. It was like a like we'd find a reason to be sick that day if it was a ZvZ. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. It's only about Fear Dragon. No. Anyways, Orena, we'll see you guys for game 5. The 11 pool 11 gas strat. What? Departure, please.
Oh, sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, spawning in the bottom left side of Arena, it's the red Zerg player, Departure.
In the top left, as the orange Zerg, it is Armani.
Now, if Armani does anything other than pool first, he's dead. So there we go.
Okay.
Good start. Good start.
Yeah, yeah. And that was a pretty not greedy pool too. You know, they were like 16, but this is still going to be hard to hold. As always, these things usually do come down to control and who messes up first. It is kind of clever of Departure to do this, though. It is the first time I believe he's early pooling. And unfortunately, it is on Arena, which sometimes it's like, okay, it's Arena, so I expect it, even if you haven't been this entire best of 5. But it's a risk that might have worked out. I'm really not so sure, though, now that Armani's gone for pool first. It's gonna be tough to make work, but at the very least, hoping to get that hatchery torn down. Or canceled, probably. Armani does not want to give that up. Might try and
I
save
mean,
it.
the fact that this is without banlings initially definitely gives them some time to sit there and chip away at the hatchery, but cancels it immediately. Overlord sees this coming, pulls back towards the main.
Okay.
If he throws that Evo chamber down on one side of this, Roach Warren goes up north. I mean, there's very little surface area if you do this correctly, but Armani is, initially going to be fine. When there's no banlings and it's just Zerglings, a queen will actually be a godsend. However, there's going to be banlings with this.
You know, these guys play a lot of ZvZ. Being pro gamers are all and all. He probably knows the exact timing of a baneling nest, based on what he's seen with the ling timing. So a baneling nest still not done. Queen is out now. She can help target fire one baneling, maybe really make the difference. Spinecrawler gets repositioned too, so it can also help out sniping those banelings. And Departure really can't afford that many, so we have 4 now on the way. But at the same time that Armani's roaches are on the way. And this is still going to be like, okay, banelings could hit that drone line. And that is very scary. But Armani, if he focus fires, he should be okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's really not that many banelings. But the problem is if these get bulked up, maybe it gets better. The 4 roaches are really what's going to seal it for me, though. They're that mobile snipe. So, boom. No more baneling problems. At least, again, if he plays it correctly. But if those banelings get to the mineral lines, it's going to be bad news bears. Roaches body blocking. Roaches get those snipes.
Denied.
Not a single hit.
That was very nice. I mean, questionable from Departure, who I guess he thought maybe the roaches would be easier to go against than the Spinecrawler, but this has not worked out for him.
In a lot of situations, if you take these roaches and move them out too early, it's dangerous. The lings get to surround, you're going to have a bad time. But between the chokes in the middle of the map and the continued... Look what's available here. Like, Armani is just going to have too many roaches. There's not enough lings to actually get us surround and kill said roaches. He's playing it safe by staying at home because he doesn't know whether there's a big all-in following this or not. And that's not a bad move, because the last thing you want to do is think you've won the game and then, oops, 4 banelings ended your life back at home. But he is kind of in this position where he should not lose this game.
Yeah. And Arena is always a tricky map because you can actually go for a speedless build in the first place, regardless if your opponent has gone for an early pool. We've seen that plenty of times, really. Person goes for a lot of lings, tries to really counterattack and whatnot, doesn't work out, and the roaches do end up being king on this map where there's very short rush distance and a choke to fall back on if, lings do end up trying to get us around. There's a lot of roaches, so the lings don't even get us around. They get us around on 1 roach, but not on all of the roaches. And Armani... I mean, he's kind of looking bad after that 2-0 or 2-1 from Departure, but he's really brought it back.
Yeah.
And should be taken to the ace match.
I like that this bounced around back and forth, too. And this wasn't like a really one-sided 3-0 series. I think that would have been very boring. But, this did go back and forth quite a bit. And I do love a good comeback when you see it. But unfortunately, especially, again, whether it's on the ramp or by the mineral lines, there's just no way to get this around. GG. Series is going to go to Armani, so he's going to pick up $250. Nothing. He can't lose. He cannot walk away today with less than $250. But he is not going to go on to play ZvZ versus Sleep, where if Sleep wins, Armani will be out. He'll take his $250 and go home. And Sleep will move on to the next round with $250 in his pocket. However, if Armani wins, he'll double his prize pool to $500. So quite a bit of cash. But Armani and Sleep have to get some things sorted, so we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about stuff. But we'll see you guys here in 2 minutes.